Jurassic World Dominion, the final part of the new trilogy, hopefully the final part of the entire franchise, but knowing Hollywood, probably not. Directed again by Colin Trevorrow, who was helming the whole trilogy, starring again Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, plus the returning stars of the first trilogy, Laura Dern, Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum. In the trailers, it promised a story where the plot would revolve around the animals, the dinosaurs, now living free in the real world. And that was basically false advertising. We mostly just get a nice montage at the beginning, another one in the end, one silly set piece in Malta, and then the rest of the movie is mostly about dinos living in an enclosed space again. But it is also about something else entirely. Essentially, it feels like 3 different films stitched together. So, plotline number 1 sees the little clone girl Maisie being kidnapped, along with the offspring of the raptor Blue, by unknown people, and Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard trying to get them back. Plotline number 2 is about a plague of huge locusts who are ravaging the US fields and seem to be connected to the Biosyn company in some way. Jeff Goldblum's Ian Malcolm is working for the company for some unknown reason and invites Laura Dern and Sam Neill's characters to go in there and help him investigate this case. And the third plotline, sadly the least prominent one, is about a new dinosaur enclosure set up by Biosyn in the Dolomites. Now, as you may guess, eventually all of those threads collapse upon each other and, become one story, but I have to say it is not only very convoluted and complicated, it also becomes thoroughly unsatisfying. It almost felt like the recent Fantastic Beasts movies, where it's like you have to go to this place and meet this person, and then they will give you this thing, and then you go elsewhere to do this stuff, and then you go this thing and go to the next place and talk to this guy, and then do this, do that, and do this. And along the way, you just quickly begin to lose interest because there's so much stuff. Also, a similar thing happened in the last Star Wars film, in Rise of Skywalker. They were also just jumping between planets with no rhyme or reason. And again, you quickly begin to lose interest because it's just so drawn out and not very streamlined, and you sort of lose sight of where the story is actually going. Why are we here again, and what's going on? Also, the tone of it all is now basically Fast and Furious with dinosaurs. The characters are essentially superheroes or super spies or both. They are competent at combat, at driving motorcycles through cities. They survive plane crashes and so on. There is a chase scene involving a motorcycle and raptors on the streets of Malta. Raptors who, by the way, are part of the weapons targeting system shown in the previous film, which was already dumb as fuck then, and I think I wasn't the only person laughing at it. And now they actually double down on it. We see it in action. Get this. A lady has Chris Pratt in full view. She takes out this laser pointer, she keeps it on him for a few seconds, and then activates a sound signal, and then a raptor begins chasing him in order to kill him. Why not just pull a gun and shoot him in this situation? What the fuck is this nonsense? I also want to say that the film was very much trying to capitalize on nostalgia and callbacks to the early films, which there's very many of them, and often they are on the nose as hell. It also feels like the scene where the characters finally meet each other is supposed to be almost like an Avengers Endgame moment. But the problem is, the old group has never actually met the new one. So they're all like, who are you? Oh, I read your book. Oh, I heard about you. Oh, okay, that's cool. Very, very fine. It just feels very flat, you know. The dinosaurs look good, and some of the scenes with them are actually kind of cool. But as I said, they largely take a backseat because the locusts plot is so prominent, and it's not a bad storyline in itself, but I don't think it fits the Jurassic World franchise very much. As it is, the dinos themselves become almost background elements used in very predictable ways. Like when they introduce the new big dinosaur and they say this is the largest carnivore that ever lived, I was like, oh, okay, so this is the dinosaur which the T-Rex will have to fight in the end to save the day, like it always does. And guess what happens? One important thing as well. In the previous film, I hated the way that it introduced a girl who was a human clone, and then went absolutely nowhere with that film, with that plotline, sorry. I thought there was a lot to explore, and it was a wasted opportunity to not go in that direction. Now, Dominion continues to largely ignore the implications and the moral questions surrounding the topic, but it does go into explaining the origins of how she was cloned in the first place, and holy shit is it absolutely stupid. Every additional sentence of explanation makes less sense than the previous one. I mean, it's just ridiculous babble pretending to be science, and it doesn't respect the audience's intelligence. There are other things wrong with the film as well. Poor dialogue, characters making decisions that make no sense. The whole security setup at Biosyn is just, it's worse than Death Star in Star Wars. The way they pull in the old characters into the story is very shaky. Like, I mean, Laura Dern I could accept. Jeff Goldblum feels shoved in kind of artificially, but Sam Neill has absolutely zero reason to be in the film. His character performs almost no function except for nostalgia. The new characters are flat and boring, the evil CEO is cartoonish, the film ends essentially in the same place it begins. The set pieces are all over the top, and so it goes and goes and goes. So to sum all of it up somehow, it's a terrible film. I'm sure some will argue that they want to see dumb action movies, and this scratches that itch. To which I say, there are better dumb action movies than this one, because Dominion is nothing more than a blatant cash grab and a total waste of time.